2 weeks ago, my son Jack, who was 7, we went to Sheffield Children's Hospital because he's got disabilities, there's problems with his joints, and for whatever reason physiotherapy is not working, he's not getting any stronger. When we're out he's having to use his wheelchair more often, and he's also been diagnosed with autism. So we went to Sheffield Children's Hospital to find out, what's going on with him. And they enrolled him on what's called a deciphering developmental disorders study because they've never seen this collection of symptoms together, and his muscle tone is so low that they really don't quite understand, with all the physiotherapy that he's having, why it's like that. But what they needed to enrol him on this study, it's a multi-million-pound investment in Cambridge, where they look at DNA and they look at all the different type of chromosomes and have a look to see which ones are faulty. But what we needed is Daniel's DNA, my DNA and Jack's DNA. So to do that, originally we were just going to have saliva samples. So I did mine, Jack did his, and then I went to Daniel, and he was actually having a couple of lucid days at the time. He said, yeah, of course I will, of course, and he opened his mouth, and I tried to get some, but because he'd not been eating and drinking, there wasn't anything there. So I phoned up the lady that was organising the study, and I told her, she said, well, the other alternative is that we can do a blood test. Would you get the district nurses to call us when they get there? Now this is Monday last week. By this time he's very, very, very poorly, so the need to get that DNA was quite urgent. Dan had been in a coma for 2 days, so it was just so urgent that we got this blood. The nurses tried to take some blood from his arm, but his veins kept collapsing. So they said, look, we can't do it, we could try it in his hands, but we're not allowed, you need to wait for the doctor. By the time the doctor had got there, his hands and feet had gone from being really cold and pale to burning hot, and I mean hot to the touch. You'd think his temperature was about 42 degrees, but then to feel up his arms and his head, it was normal. And the Macmillan nurse, Tracy, she showed up, she's been fantastic. And because she used to be a chemotherapy nurse, she's very good at finding veins, and they tied a medal as a tourniquet because they didn't have anything else. They got this big syringe and with these big needles, managed to get it in one of them veins there, but because his hands were so hot, it just flowed out. It just flowed out into the vial, into the syringe, and the doctor then managed to inject it into the vials, and we sealed it all up. And then yesterday I took it and met the doctor, Dr. Parker, who's leading the study. I met him in Barnsley to give him the blood personally, and that was what, I don't know, 18 hours before he died. If his hands hadn't been hot and his pulse hadn't been racing, then he wouldn't have been able to do that. And I was really emotional at the time. I thought, that's his last gift, a gift to Jack that could ultimately let the experts find out exactly what's going on with him and maybe find a cure or fix him or make his life easier. So his last gift to Jack, I was just completely overwhelmed. I've told Jack about it. I said, look, your daddy somehow made his hands really, really hot so that he could get some blood, and that blood, Jack, I says, it could make your legs stop hurting. He says, that means I'll be able to run as fast as all my friends, and I might be able to win a medal on sports day. So he was really happy with it. And I think Dan would have wanted that, definitely. The last thing that he could ever possibly do was something for his children. So yeah, I'm overwhelmed with that. I think he did fantastic.